Hello and welcome to another edition of Critical Issue. I'm Richard Giacovis, your host and moderator for today. Today we'll discuss the biggest headlines affecting the United States and abroad. Our issues today that we'll be covering are the revolution in Libya, how the revolution affects oil around the world, growing political revolutions in the Middle East, and North Africa, among other topics. So let's meet our panel for today's show. First we have ICTV Chief Political Correspondent and President of the Iona Society for Professional Journalism, Chris Massaro, Joe Chabot, an Iona College campus minister for Loftus Hall, and Jacqueline Shearer, an ICTV producer. Welcome to the show, guys. All right, well, it seems that every day there is another revolution springing up in the Middle East and North Africa. Already we have seen a successful revolution in Egypt, causing President Hosni Mubarak to step down from power. That was a couple weeks ago. Now, there are currently protests in Libya as well, but perhaps the biggest right now is the bloody and violent revolution against Colonel Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi, who has been in power for 40 years. He stated he will die in power before stepping down. All right, so Chris, let's start with you on this. Why are we seeing situations like this all across the region?
Well, it's a simple issue, really. Basically, the economy. All these economies in North Africa and the Middle East are terrible. There's high unemployment, inflation, high food prices, and there are a young population. So when you have a young population that's unemployed and hungry, you're going to have a very angry population, and they're starting to uprise, and we're seeing it all over the Middle East and North Africa.
Well, why could the revolution not, let's say, be as peaceful as it was in Egypt?
Well, for the simple fact that the Egyptian military was basically beholden to us. We supported them with over $1 billion in aid, and they in no way wanted to get in front of the protesters. Now, as far as Libya, Gaddafi has a much tighter grip on the security forces and the protesters. Now, there has been some rebel forces that have taken control of the eastern part of the country, but Gaddafi has still ordered airstrikes on his own people, and there's been calls that he's been committing genocide. So it's a much different situation than in Egypt, a lot more bloody, and there's going to be significant international repercussions.
I'm sure. Jacqueline, is there any chance of Gaddafi, you think, stepping down from power?
I think he's going to have to. 140,000 Libyans have already fled to Tunisia and Egypt. Pretty soon he's not going to have any people to rule over if he continues this way. So eventually I think he's going to have to step down.
Would you call him crazy?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. Personally, I think so, yeah. But, everyone has their reasons, and I guess he has his reasons for doing what he's doing. However twisted they may be.
Well, Joe, what should people think about his outrages? People are on hallucinogenic drugs, and that the teenagers of his country are supporters of Al Qaeda, and Bin Laden is responsible for the uprising.
These are just all allegations being thrown into the wind and seeing where they'll stick. Who knows whether any of these have true, any kind of a moral background or any truth to them. Only time will tell with that. Mm-hmm. So,
how long do you think the violence can go on in Tripoli?
I think it can go on for quite some time. It all depends on if we're willing to cooperate and find a long-term solution to these short-term problems that are going on.
How will countries like Tunisia, let's say, be affected by the mass exodus of Libyan refugees into Tunisia and Egypt?
Well, I would have to say, it could be disastrous to their already declining economy, which is already in shambles. What is this going to do to global politics everywhere? Will it potentially lead to another catastrophic world war even? We don't know where it will go.
Can I jump in there for a second? I think going off what those two said, it's just going to create a cycle of effects. It's just going to keep happening because they're going to keep straining the economy and things like that. It's just going to keep getting worse and worse in different countries.
All right. Well, President Obama has stated that what is happening in Libya is unacceptable. Now, the U.S. has taken military action in the past 1986 under the Reagan administration when the U.S. bombed many parts of Libya. Now, it would not be the first time the U.S. has taken military action during a revolution. Can we see the U.S. military interact in Libya?
Well, international law says you can't get involved in internal affairs, but you can. The only way you can support it is if you support the government in power, and there's no way that anybody's going to be supporting the Gaddafi regime. So basically, what countries may do is, support the rebel forces covertly to try to, start an uprising and take control of the government, because they've taken control of the eastern part of the country. There's been, the military's fractionalized between those who still support Gaddafi and those who don't support Gaddafi. So, like, we said, it's going to, time will tell.
And then also other countries could take power too.
Right. I mean, we see that in Lebanon. Iran has a major influence in Lebanon. So does Syria. So another, country can have outside influence.
Okay. Is the UN doing enough to handle the situation? Any of you?
UN never does enough. They really never do enough. I mean, it's so difficult enough to get peacekeepers in a nation, but as far as this goes, it's in internal affairs, and the international community is very hesitant to get involved in issues like this. But there should be, a peacekeeping force in there.
The UN doesn't really have the power that they need to take control of these areas, and that's the problem. They don't have the resources they need. They don't have any kind of governing body or anything like that that's official enough that they can really take control and do anything.
Well, they don't have a military.
Exactly.
It's not like NATO where they have a military.
Well, we're going to take a little different turn on Libya and the Middle East to one thing that's on everybody's mind in the U.S., and that is oil prices. Because Libya is a huge oil provider, along with Saudi Arabia for the U.S. Oil is now up to $100 a barrel. So, Joe, let's start with you. How will all this turmoil in the Middle East affect oil prices, especially in the summer?
We can only expect them to go up, especially with increased travel, the beach days. That's going to put a strain on our economy that already sees a strain on it already. Now we need to maybe even find other sources of energy. I'm all for that, especially with the state of the economy. It's imperative too.
And will this affect the world's biggest oil company, ExxonMobil? Chevron, Shell, BP, will it make no difference to them? Think like countries like that.
To them. People are still going to travel regardless. It's a matter.
Always happens. Yeah.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
But this is basically like a hidden tax. I mean, I went to the gas pump a couple of days ago. It was $3.57. I went this morning. It's now $3.61. In my neighborhood, it's going to progressively increase.
Slowly.
And yeah, we're only in February or March now.
Well, there's talk about $5 a gallon. Do you think that could happen?
Right. I would not be surprised if we see another 1973. Like the Arab-Israeli crisis that where gas prices.
It's not going to stop people from. It's not like everybody's going to start protest and we're not going to go and drive. I mean, obviously.
Right, but it's just another burden, also like a hidden tax.
Right. All right, let's talk about one more thing in the Middle East for now. With the number of countries in revolt now numbering 5, will we see this revolution continue for months and years to come for the other countries? You know which ones you're talking about?
Right.
Okay.
Well, it depends on what country we're talking about. Because if we're talking about Saudi Arabia, I don't think so, because the people actually do trust their government. Same thing with Jordan, because they actually have made reforms. Bahrain, same thing, and the security forces in Bahrain have a tight grip on the people. They use tear gas on them. Yemen, the government basically has no control of the people, so I think the next government to fall would be Yemen. President Saleh has been in power, I think, since 1987. People are basically fed up with him. I'm reluctant to say Gaddafi would be removed from power because he's so erratic and you never know what he's going to do. So I think those are the countries that we have to look at. Iran, that regime will be in power for many more years, and I don't see that regime being toppled anytime soon.
And Jacqueline,
unfortunate.
Why do people choose to revolt now?
I think they're being inspired by each other, and I think it's also the outpouring of people leaving countries and, like we said, putting the strain on other economies and things like that. But I do think it has a lot to do with people seeing other countries doing it and saying, well, if they can do it, then why can't we inspire change? So.
You agree, Joe?
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
And what I like to say, I think this is a testament to President Bush's freedom agenda. We're seeing democracy in Afghanistan, we're seeing democracy in Iraq. He supported the uprising, the Cedar Revolution in Lebanon, which removed Syria from power. So I think President Bush deserves credit for his freedom agenda, and we're seeing it spread across the Middle East and North Africa. Hopefully, they don't turn into radical Islamic regimes. Hopefully, we can see true liberal democracy.
Again, Egypt's been fighting this for over 50 years, since the revolution in 1952. This is just a continuation, an influx in these insurgents. It's going to keep being fought until we find long-term solutions.
Right. Well, if political revolution did happen, do you think that it could turn to, let's say, genocide?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're already seeing that now in Libya. I mean, Gaddafi ordered his own air force to bomb his own people. I mean, what does that say?
Okay. All right. One last question. Could all these countries who are revolting truly have a fully democratic government?
No, that's difficult. That's difficult to say. These people don't have a history of democracy. They were colonized by the Europeans, by the Ottoman Empire. They have no history of democracy. When countries historically don't have a history of democracy, they don't know how to act when they are first given it. This is not similar to 1989 Eastern Europe. where those countries experienced democracy in the past, and they had the heavy support of the United States. So it's a little different. And I'm reluctant to say that democracy will emerge, but we have to hope.
But if they have such strong groups fighting for it and calling for democracy at this time, then, I mean, it could happen. It might be a really rough start, but it could very well happen.
Right, but we saw elections in Gaza and the Palestinian territories that led to the terrorist group Hamas being elected. Same thing with Hezbollah in Lebanon. So
Right. What last word, Joe?
Again, we need to work on having a democracy in place, but again, we need to work on our home front as well, because we can't truly be the example to others until we fix ourselves.
That's
And
a
that's
whole
the
other
problem
topic.
where-
That's a whole other topic. Yes.
But that needs to be brought to the picture.
Right. Well, hopefully we informed all of you today. We want to thank our panel. And a little reminder that ICTV meets every Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday's our political show at noon. And on Thursday we cover entertainment, which is every Thursday at noon as well. So please join us and come by. And the Agape mission trip is coming up. So please contact Gabby Witt at gwit1@iona.edu for more information on that. And that will do it for us. We once again thank our panel, and we'll see you here next time. Bye, everybody.